Due to the graphic nature of this episode and the nature of the killer's crimes, listener discretion is advised. Suicidal ideation, sexual assault, rape, and violence all will be mentioned in this episode. May not be suitable for children or those who are easily triggered. Hey y'all, I'm Elisa.
And I'm Samantha.
And welcome to Watch for Deer. How are you today?
I'm good.
Yay!
I'm good.
Summer vacation.
I know.
I'm jealous.
I always say that, and even my friends say that I'm Summer Sam now. And that Mrs. Stevens, the teacher, and Summer Sam, they don't know each other.
Two totally different people.
They're two totally different people. And
Totally.
Mrs. Stevens does not come back out until around the middle of August. And then there she is again.
Summer Sammy's fun.
Summer Sammy is a blast.
Summer Sammy's fun.
Mrs. Stevens is not.
Mrs. Stevens is mean.
I'm not mean.
No, your kids love you.
I'm not mean.
So I have a story for you today. I don't know if you've ever heard of this one or not.
Well, you said, I asked you, I said, have I heard of it? And you were like, no.
I don't think you have.
Okay.
It might begin to sound a little familiar in the beginning,
Okay.
but you probably don't know the truth.
Oh.
Oh.
Okay.
So are you ready?
And is this one is where I'm going to get super excited? I'm like, I know this. And then you keep talking. I'm like, oh my God, I feel like an idiot.
No.
Okay, go ahead.
No, you're gonna hope that this story ends quickly.
Okay.
So the story is
God,
heavy.
is it awful?
This story is heavy.
We have not done one of these.
We've not done one of these rough stories in a while.
I hate these types of stories.
I know you do.
I hate them.
You're already
so much.
flushing.
I just, oh my God.
So, but we do pride ourselves on, dishing out some true crime.
We don't. You do. I don't pride myself on it at all.
Okay, I pride myself. But, so it's super heavy, and I do want to start off by giving some trigger warnings.
Oh my God. Already.
Of course, I always do try and tame these down because we do have younger listeners.
You have to tame them down.
So I do have to tame them down to where they're PG-13-ish.
PG-13. Yeah.
So,
you got to keep it PG. And you say younger listeners. Listen, I'm sure that the younger listeners have heard worse than this. You tame it down from me.
Well, that's true. That's very true.
me.
Because, most of our listeners are middle schoolers, and I guarantee you...
You think most of our listeners are middle schoolers?
Well, not most. Not most, but as far as the young ones are middle schoolers.
Yeah.
Because they're, students that listen to Mrs. Stevens, not Summer Sammy.
Yeah.
So, we do have to try and keep it... And I don't want her to break out in hives like she did with Fred and Rosemary West.
That was terrible. That was awful.
So, just let me know if it gets too much.
Oh my God.
And you need to take a Benadryl to control the hives.
Okay.
Just let me know.
My belly already hurts. Like it's gurgling right now. It's gurgling.
Okay. Let's begin.
What are the trigger warnings? Are you just said they're there?
Yeah, just if you're a sensitive Susie or a sensitive Sammy, tread with caution.
All right, go on. Right. Let's get this junk started.
So this is the story of the real life Buffalo Bill. Most of you, I'm sure, have watched the movie
the guy?
Silence of the Lambs.
Is this he puts the lotion on the skin and then it gets the hose again?
That's Buffalo Bill, yeah.
Oh, I hate your guts.
So, if you've watched Silence of the Lambs, you've probably remember the iconic scene.
You know where I remember
Where?
it? I don't know. It's not from that. It's from Joe Dirt.
You mean the Tiger King?
No, I mean Joe Dirt.
The actual Joe Dirt.
The movie. Yeah. He's in there. Joe Dirt evades him.
Yes.
That's the kind of movies I like. That's the kind of movies I like. Silence of the Lambs. Hello, Clarice.
Hello, Clarice.
Hello, Clarice.
That's a good movie.
Me and my friend Beach used to say that all the time.
Hello, Clarice.
Hello, Clarice.
So, he, in that scene, he has a young woman in a pit, and he's holding her captive. Well, this particular character in the film was based off of not one, but two very well-known serial killers. One being Ed Gein, which I will most definitely cover.
Why did you look at me like that? You're like Ed Gein with big eyes. I don't know who that is.
You don't know who Ed Gein is?
No.
Oh my gosh, I may have to do it next.
Who is that?
Ed Gein.
That's not true. You promised me that you were working on a paranormal story, and I would be okay.
I am.
Don't you lie to me.
I am. The next one's going to be soft and fluffy because I'm hitting you real hard with this one. Hitting you real hard with this one. So, but yeah, so the second is the less known Gary Heidnik. And we're going to cover the absolute awful case of Heidnik today. So be forewarned, this is a rough one.
I don't want to do this.
Too bad, we're here. She came in, and as we were walking up the steps, she was rambling on, talking real fast about this guy having 3 girls chained up in the basement of this house, and she was like held hostage for like 4 months. She said that he was beating them and raping them and had them eating dead people, just like he was cold-blooded nut. Dogs were in the yard eating people bones. I just thought she was crazy. I really didn't believe it, and I still don't believe this shit. That was a direct quote from Vincent Nelson, who is Josefina Riviera's boyfriend. So keep in mind, we're going to circle back to this quote.
I'm just here. I'm just here right now.
Okay.
I'm trying to tune you out.
Don't tune me out.
I'm tuning you out.
Gary Michael Heidnik was born November 22nd, 1943 in East Lake, Ohio. He was born to Michael and Ellen Heidnik. Now, when Gary was a year and a half old, Ellen gave birth to his baby brother, Terry. The Heidniks were a middle-class family. Now, they had a very nice house, and they were well-to-do. And from the outside looking in, it seemed the family had it all. Nice marriage, 2 beautiful kids, a nice home, they had money. But we all know appearances can be very deceiving. Inside the home, both parents were emotionally abusive, and Michael, the dad, was sometimes even physical. A quote from Oxygen during an interview with Gary's niece Shannon Heidnik, Terry's daughter, stated the whole family was screwed up and weird. They were really sick parents and gave their kids some serious problems. Michael and Ellen would divorce in 1946. During the divorce, his mother filed accusing Michael of gross negligence of duty, and Michael would accuse Ellen of being a boozer, which she was. Gary and Terry would go with their mom, but she would later remarry 2 more times. Her last 2 husbands were both African Americans, and this will play in later to the story. She would eventually commit suicide by drinking mercuric acid after being diagnosed with bone cancer and suffering from alcoholism in 1970. The boys would live with their father, who had also remarried, but they stated that their new stepmother, Dorothea, didn't get along with them either. Their dad was a very hard disciplinarian and would consistently punish the boys. When Gary was a boy, he would wet the bed, and his father would make him take the soiled sheets, hang them outside of his bedroom window for all the neighborhood to see. Bedwetting is super common with children who have experienced trauma and abuse. Their father would also hang them outside the windows by their ankles if they were misbehaving. They said sometimes their dad would paint bullseyes on their butts and send them off to school. Now, this would lead to the other kids kicking them in the butt. So that's what type of father figure they had.
What year is this?
This is in the 70s. I believe. Yes. In the 70s. Different time.
I mean, he's still a what's the word for a prick?
Absolutely. Now, their father would later dispute the claims of ever being verbally and physically abusive, stating that Gary was normal but must have lost his buttons. So as you can imagine, these boys had a very tough home life. Gary was also socially awkward in school, and he was very quiet. He was very much an introvert. Now, he had an oddly shaped head that favored a football. They called him football head. But he actually got that when he fell from a tree onto the crown of his head when he was younger.
Hold on. Is Gary the one that grows up to be the serial killer?
Yes.
And he's got a football-shaped head?
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
What's his name?
Gary Heidnik.
Gary Heidnik.
Heidnik. Yep.
I'm going to Google him right now.
Do it.
I want to see what he looks like.
It's crazy.
I've never seen anybody with a football-shaped head.
Well, his hair's
Well,
kind
that
of...
one cartoon, Hey Arnold.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I thought of when you said that. Seriously, I was like, oh.
It's like, hey, my name's Gary. It's not Arnold, it's Gary.
How do you spell Heidnik?
H.
Never mind.
Oh, did you find him?
How did it just pop up?
You hear, our phones are listening. We talked about this in a previous episode.
Go ahead. With
Okay,
your story.
sorry.
I'm just looking at pictures.
So accounts say that it was around this time that Gary's personality made a huge change. Now, he used to
By
feed...
George, he does have a football-shaped head.
Yes, he does.
Actually, no, it's not. It's not a football-shaped head. It's like a cone head. It's very egg-shaped. It's
Well, I mean, an
very
egg-
egg-shaped.
Yeah, well, I mean, an egg is kind of football shaped. Well, I don't know. Yeah, he's Humpty Dumpty in it.
It's like he's got like from his chin to his eyebrows is normal, and then the top part of his head.
Yes. Oh, he looks like the Coneheads, Dan Aykroyd.
Now, I tell you what it looks like. You know, like a baby, as soon as a woman gives birth, what the baby looks like?
Yep.
That's what this looks like.
Yeah, canal head.
Yeah. He needs like some bangs.
Yeah.
He needs a bang.
He needs something.
He needs a bang,
He needs a
Elisa.
bang.
He needs a bang. I'm
just
all
a bang.
A bang would fix that. Just
Yeah.
a little.
He's got a very elongated forehead.
Yeah. Well, and that top part too.
Yeah, there ain't nothing you can do about that.
Baseball cap, a toboggan
No. Top hat.
with a pom pom on it.
Top hat.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Squirrel. 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 So after his accident where he fell out of the tree, his personality changed drastically.
He has a TBI. You can tell in this picture.
For sure.
If it made his head like that, then there's something going on there.
For sure.
But they may not have the medical stuff to go on with it. So
I
he's
don't
got
think
like
so.
some,
This is the 70s when this happened, so...
I mean, you act like it was forever ago. It's what, 50 years ago? It's not like it's forever
But medical
ago.
advancements have really came a long way. I mean, you know what I mean?
I don't. I'm not in the medical field.
Prior to the accident, he used to feed stray animals that would come into the yard, but after the fall, he began abusing them violently.
How old was he when he fell?
He was under 8 to 10, about 8 to 10
okay.
years old.
Okay,
He
go
was
ahead.
younger. At the age of 14, Gary enrolled into Staunton Military Academy in Staunton, Virginia. Now, his goal was to head to West Point, but that never materialized. Gary was actually extremely smart with an IQ of 148. He stayed there at Staunton 2 years and was just shy of graduation when he came back and eventually would quit high school yet again and join the Army at the age of 17, which was around, 1975, 1960, about 1960.
Sure.
Gary would serve in the Army for 13 months. His sergeant graded him as excellent. Eventually, he would be transferred to medic school, where he would also do really, really well there. He became a certified LPN. And keep in mind, he was very book smart. He then would post him in Germany. And while he was in Germany, Gary began to suffer from headaches, dizziness, and nausea. Now, it's been said that during this time that he was there, that the military would use LSD to experiment on the soldiers. While it's not secret, these tests are not as well known as some of the similar LSD tests conducted by the CIA, such as MK Ultra.
I was getting ready to say. I was just getting ready to say. This sounds like MK Ultra.
Yep,
that
MK Ultra.
That didn't happen.
Yep, Operation Paperclip.
Because our government would never do anything against its own people. Never.
So this was where the U.S. government recruited former Nazi scientists. And these tests actually took place at Edgewood Arsenal in Maryland and was part of the Chemical Corpse program that saw effective psychochemical incapacitants to be delivered in an aerosol form. So they had this, aerosol spray bottles to spray these weapons, and they were testing them, on our soldiers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Allegedly.
For entertainment purposes only, allegedly.
Allegedly. So, which I eventually plan to cover this topic as well. It's on my list. My list is big. So,
what? MK Ultra?
MK Ultra, Operation Paperclip,
I don't.
all those.
Probably shouldn't do that. Probably shouldn't cover that one.
Allegedly.
Yeah. Seem like Blue's Clues. Just go.
So it's believed that he was one of those men as he was stationed there around that same time. However, Heidnik would be diagnosed with gastroenteritis and mental illness, in which he was then prescribed medication for. Ironically, his brother Terry also suffered with mental illness and had spent time in various mental institutions. Now let's keep in mind their childhood, their abuse, their awful home life, and he fell out of a tree. So he's got many different
brain issues
with him. In 1962, Gary would be diagnosed with schizoid personality disorder, and he would be honorably discharged from the military. Schizoid personality disorder is a disorder characterized by a lack of interest in social relationships, a tendency toward a solitary or sheltered lifestyle, secretiveness, emotional coldness, detachment, and apathy. Affected individuals may be unable to form intimate attachments to others and simultaneously possess a very rich and elaborate but exclusively internal fantasy world. Other associated features include stilted speech, a lack of deriving enjoyment from most activities, feeling as though one is more of an observer than like a participant in life, like they're just kind of sitting back, watching life, passing by. The inability to tolerate emotional expectations of others, apparent indifference when praised or criticized. Now, these symptoms typically start in late childhood or the adolescence, and this was probably something that he had actually dealt with his entire life. Now, let's jump forward just a little bit to November 26th of 1986.
Well, that's not just a little bit. That's a lot.
So we kind of got Gary's background here. We kind of understand how he, what kind of home life he had, how he grew up, how he kind of functions as a personality. Now, picture this. November 26th, 1986. A nice, shiny Cadillac Coupe de Ville pulls up to the corner of 3rd and Girard in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The 25-year-old Josefina Riviera, a.k.a. Nicole, had a rough night obtaining clients and had been working the corner for hours after having a verbal argument with her boyfriend, Vincent Nelson.
Was it her boyfriend or her pimp? I'm just asking.
It could be either.
It could be both. Okay.
The man, Gary Heidnik, asked if she's working tonight and how much. They agree on a price, and she slides into the passenger seat of his very nice car. Gary begins driving, and she asks him where they're going. He says, "We're going to my house." They arrive at his home, they go upstairs, and she works. After they're done, Gary's putting on his pants, and she begins to get dressed. And as her back is turned to him, he grabs her by the neck and begins to choke her.
I can tell that you have smoothed this out for me a whole lot, and I appreciate that.
Oh, yeah.
But I actually feel like you've smoothed it out a whole lot for our listeners, too, because if it was just me and you sitting here, you would have said all the words.
All the words.
And I'd have been done.
Yeah, you would have.
I appreciate that. So,
yeah. This is definitely PG-13.
For me.
It could have been definitely...
For me. I appreciate
very
that.
X-rated.
Yeah.
Triple R.
I appreciate
whatever.
that.
You're welcome. Now, she freaks out and starts screaming. She's like, stop, stop. She was like, I'll do anything. And just as she's about to pass out, she realizes he slipped a handcuff on her hand. And he forces her other hand into the handcuffs and shoves her downstairs, past the kitchen, down into a cold, damp, dimly lit basement. Heidnik had a bare mattress laid in the corner and shoves her over towards it. He then proceeds to chain her up by her ankle, using a muffler clamp, a heavy chain, and some nuts and bolts. He even puts super glue on these nuts when he screws them in, and then he uses a hairdryer to make them dry quicker. That way she can't unscrew them. He attaches the chain over a 5-inch metal pipe that runs above them lengthwise across the ceiling. He then lays down with her on that bare mattress, and he goes to sleep right beside her. Riviera woke, and she wasn't sure how long she had been in the basement. She could tell there were no doors or windows, and over in the far corner, she could see where the concrete floor had been busted up, and a very shallow pit had been dug by hand. Her mind instantly thinks, that's my grave. She hears Heidnik come downstairs, and he offers her food, which she declines for fear of being poisoned. What she will experience while in this basement, she probably wishes she would have eaten the food and hoped and prayed that it had been poisoned. Heidnik begins digging in the pit, widening it, and he starts talking to her. And she soon learns that Gary desires to have a very large family. He explains to her that something always happens, though, and ruins it. He tells her that he had once fathered 4 children, but all had been taken away from him by either their mothers or the authorities.
So is that just him living in his fantasy world, or did that happen? Did he actually have 4 children?
He actually had some kids.
He did actually have some kids.
Yes. This one particular case really stung him. Now, he had met a woman by the name of Ann Jeanette Davidson, and he had fathered a little girl with her. Now, Ann Jeanette Davidson was a mentally disabled African-American woman, and although she was able to take care of herself, she couldn't read or write. And keep in mind, this is back in the 70s and 80s. Now, eventually, Gary got Ann Jeanette pregnant, and since he was a certified LPN, he decided he could treat her at home, and he never let her receive any outside medical treatment during this pregnancy. A month before their baby was due, Ann Jeanette's oldest sister shows up at their place with a police escort and takes Ann Jeanette away. On March 22nd, 1978, she gave birth to their daughter, Maxine. Because of the strict diet Heidnik had her on and the lack of proper prenatal care, the baby was born and was quickly placed in foster care. Shortly after giving birth, Ann Jeanette and Gary went to visit her other sister, who was 34 years old at the time, and she was a permanent resident of a mental institution, as her mental capacity was that of a 5-year-old. While Ann Jeanette and her sister, Alberta, chatted, Gary filled out a day slip to check her out for the day. After 9 days had passed and Gary had not returned Alberta, an employee showed up at Gary and Ann Jeanette's and asked where she was. And Gary told them.
9 days?
9 days. Gary told him that he had bought her a bus ticket and sent her back. Okay, number one, she has the mental capacity of a 5-year-old.
I mean,
that's not going to fly.
Did they believe it?
The employee later returned with a warrant and police and discovered poor Alberta in the damp, dark basement within a storage room down there. Medical examination would reveal that the young woman had been sexually assaulted. Heidnik was charged with kidnapping, rape, false imprisonment, unlawful restraint, and interfering with custody of a committed person.
I don't understand when things like this happen, like one time, when they happen one time. I don't understand how these people get out of jail. If you have the evilness inside of you to do this one time,
you're going to be a repeat offender.
There's no rehabilitation for that. No. There's none. I don't understand why that is not a life sentence.
I don't either.
I don't understand.
And you're going to see this theme throughout this whole case.
So I'm just going to be mad.
You're just going to be mad and frustrated this whole case, because this whole case you're going to see him get arrested. He's going to get charged. He's going to get out over and over and over.
I just don't understand why we have such a broken system.
I don't know, but it is broken, and it cost a lot. These mistakes cost a lot.
Oh yeah.
Now, he pleaded not guilty, of course. During this incident,
what was his case though? He pled not guilty for reasons of what? Insanity? Like why? I mean, he was in her friggin' basement.
Well, listen to this. During this particular incident, indictment, whatever, a psychiatrist examined Heidnik and stated that there was a high probability that he would be a repeat offender.
You think?
And, unfortunately, Alberta was deemed unfit to stand trial due to her mental capacity, and without her testimony, the more serious charges were dropped.
She shouldn't have to testify. He had her chained up in the basement,
red-handed.
What? Just what?
Nope. He ended up serving more than 4 years in prisons and
mental
hospitals.
Should have served life.
And he kept back, during the 4 years, he just bounced back and forth between the mental hospital and the prison, just back and forth the entire 4 years.
And he's probably assaulting everybody.
Yeah. Now, and again, throughout this entire case, you're going to see a pattern emerge. He would always target low income, down on their luck, African American women who most of the time were also mentally handicapped. Now, in 1986, from this incident, he was released on parole. After being paroled, he felt society owed him a family. The horrible truth is that Gary had a vision. One that included holding no less than 10 women captive and forcing them to bear him as many children as possible. Now, keep in mind, Gary is a sexual sadist. He thrives on having that complete control over another, and by holding these women captive, he has that control that he desires. And this plan begins with Josefina Riviera. That's why he kidnapped Josefina on that November 9th in 1986.
So his plan is to collect women, hold them hostage, have as many kids as he can with them, and just keep them held hostage.
Yep.
Okay.
What does this sound like to you?
Like, I don't know.
Cultish?
Oh, okay. I was like,
cultish,
I've never heard a story like this.
Now, after a sexual assault account, and that's putting it nicely, you're welcome.
I appreciate it.
Riviera was left in the basement and decided she would try and make a run for it. Now, she had loosened the bolts enough to be able to use a pull stick that she had found laying on the floor and pry the board from the window. Oh. She slid as far as she could out this window and began yelling and screaming for help. Unfortunately, Gary, living in what they called the OK Corral, screams were a normal sound. It was just part of everyday life in this neighborhood. It was a rough neighborhood. It was just something that they were used to. You got people on drugs, consistently screaming. It was just another day.
Could you imagine
on the street?
having to live like that?
I could not. No, I absolutely could not.
Well, you can't because you don't. I mean, but there's people right now. There's people who live like this in these slums and stuff.
Yes, and like right now, like if we heard a scream,
if I heard somebody talking right now, I don't have any.
That's what I'm saying. We'd be like, "What the heck?" You know what I mean? Like, and here, I couldn't imagine just sitting here watching TV or doing whatever and hearing just a woman screaming bloody murder.
You know
help me, help me.
Well, like, help me. But if it was just a scream, you know what I think it was? Bobcat.
Well, yeah.
That's what that'd be like, oh, there's Bobcat up there.
Yeah, and that's common here.
Yeah.
But so he hears her screaming, and he runs downstairs. He grabs Riviera and drags her back in the window by her ankles, and he beats her. He then shoves her into the tiny pit in the floor that he had dug, and he scoots a piece of plywood over her. Now, her head doesn't really want to go down because the pit is so shallow, so imagine her in the fetal position, but really cramped because it's so small. And she's not a big woman. So he forces it down, and he lays bags of dirt on top of this plywood, rendering Riviera unable to move at all. He then walks out of the basement. He grabs a radio. He returns to the basement, and he plugs it in and turns it on full volume with rock music to help muffle any screams. And he leaves her in the pit in the floor for 27 hours. She cannot move. It's so small, she cannot move at all. Now, this gives me anxiety. Like I'm not a claustrophobic person, by no means. But I can't imagine being in a damp, cold, dark basement in a hole in the ground with a plywood. And keep in mind, this plywood, it ain't like it has air holes. It's a piece of plywood with bags on top. Yeah. I don't know how she didn't pass out. Maybe she did.
She may have.
Maybe she did. Now, the next time Riviera hears Heidnik, it's November 29th, 1986. So this is 3 days after kidnapping Riviera. Gary brings a friend into the basement. Oh. Now, Heidnik frequently visits a place called the Elwyn Institute. And this place is for those with intellectual and physical disabilities. He preys on the women that attend this facility. And he likes to sit across the street from this institution at the McDonald's, and he just sits there and he waits until women come in. Then he'll strike up a friendly conversation and offer them cash and end up bringing them home for a good time. Now, people with these types of disabilities are so easily manipulated, and Heidnik knows that. And this is why he targets those specific women. He thrives on that dominance, that control. Gary drags Riviera out of the hole. She can barely stand after being packed in that tiny pit for so long without food or water. Keep in mind, 27 hours. Heidnik introduces the two girls. The new one, 24-year-old Sandy Lindsay, was also an African American with mental disabilities. Sandra was extremely confused, though, because she had actually known Gary for 4 years. They had met at the Elwyn Institute, and Heidnik and Sandra both had been sexually involved multiple times, and he had even tried to bribe her with $1,000 cash to have his baby, which she declined. She just could not understand why her friend, and I use that in quotations, because she thinks he is a friend.
Right. I mean, she's got a cognitive disability, so and she doesn't understand.
Gary just tells Riviera that Sandy's been promising to have his babies, but she always backs out. Well, now she can't. Now, the next morning, they hear a pounding on the front door, and it's some of Sandy's family. They eventually give up and leave. Now, Gary comes to the basement with pen and paper, and he makes Sandra write a letter to her mother telling her that she's left. He tells Sandra he's going to mail it from New York so no one will ever look for her. Now, her family did file a missing police report, and it was looked into. However, when one of Gary's acquaintances had given the police Gary's last name, they didn't know how to spell Heidnik, so when they told him how to spell Heidnik, they spelled it wrong, so nothing came up in the system. So there was nothing pop up on Heidnik. December 22nd, 1986. He's ready for a new captive to add to his birthing harem, as he calls it. He's cruising around the streets in his Cadillac, and he comes across 19-year-old Lisa Thomas. Lisa, too, is an African American with mental disabilities. And impressed by his car, she strides over to Heidnik. She hops in, and Heidnik flirts with her and makes her comfortable. He then asks her, "Hey, do you want to go to Atlantic City with me?" And she was like, well, she doesn't have anything nice to wear. Like, she doesn't have anything to wear for a trip. He was like, no worries. He drives her over to Sears. He hands her a $50 bill. Let's go buy you whatever you want. Go buy you something nice. You know?
Well, this had to be forever ago. Because you couldn't get jack with $50
$50.
now.
Oh, gosh, no. She actually goes and buys a couple new outfits with the $50. So, you know. And they leave. And by this time, he has kind of built that trust with her, you know, talking to her, flirting, friendly, chatty, buying her clothes and nice things. And she's like, sure. She's like, yeah, I'll go back to your place. Why not? Here's this nice guy. You know, what could possibly go wrong? He takes her back. Same story as the others. Sex, handcuffs, basement, chains. The same grim initiation that he treats each captive woman to. From 1962 until 1987, Gary had been in and out of different hospitals 21 times for mental illness. He had attempted suicide 13 times. This clearly proves there was something devastatingly wrong with the system, and I'm not sure it's much better today. Now, during one of these attempts, he literally drove his motorcycle head-on into a truck. The next attempt, he chopped up a light bulb and attempted to swallow the glass. And several times he tried to OD on his prescribed medication, Thorazine. In 1971, Gary woke up and went to get some coffee, but he kept driving until he hit the Pacific coast. There, he wades out into the ocean, and while gazing at the gorgeous sunset, he said the Almighty God spoke to him and told him that he needs to go back to Philly and he needs to start a new church.
I just go on.
He said
I don't even know what to say.
The Lord said that somebody needed to take care of the physically disabled and mentally handicapped. So that's what he did. Gary goes back to Philly. He applies to incorporate the United Church of Ministers of God, which was founded in 1971. Now, founding members included his brother Terry, who was also had mental issues.
You think?
He also...
he joined this crackpot church.
Yes. He also had a mentally handicapped woman whom he was living with at the time and a couple other people. Now, keep in mind, this particular piece of the story is happening prior to Riviera, prior to these kidnappings.
Okay.
It's in between him...
So you're jumping back.
We're jumping back a minute, going with a little more history.
Okay.
So he also creates a 5-page constitution that set forth the structure and the principles. Now, the board of directors would eventually select a bishop who ended up being
his brother,
Gary Heidnik.
Hold on.
Not Terry.
Hold on. Who's Gary?
Gary is the serial killer.
Okay, and Terry
is just a board member.
Okay.
Terry.
Hold on. So Gary picked these board members.
Uh-huh.
And then the board members picked him.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
that makes sense.
Yep.
I was thinking, never mind, go ahead.
Yep. Now, the bishop...
You can't put me on the spot like that, Elise. I feel stupid now.
The bishop also had full control and responsibility for church funds.
Now, is Gary the bishop?
Gary's the bishop.
Okay.
Now, he's smart. Gary's really smart. You know, we said he had a very high IQ. He's very book smart, very intelligent. Now, at this point, this guy is in this for the long haul, okay? So, in 1975, Heidnik takes $1,500. He goes down to Merrill Lynch. He opens a brokerage account. And he invests this $1,500. Now, he's always been obsessed with Wall Street. Now, over the years, that $1,500 grew to $545,000. So he was a very smart investor.
Can you do that now? You're a finance person. Can you take $1,500 and turn it into $500,000?
I mean, it's going to take some time for sure. Like, I've taken $500 and right now I've not deposited anymore. Right now it's worth about $4,000. So it's pretty good gain.
Pretty good.
Pretty
That's
good.
not bad.
Pretty good.
Okay.
If this individual stock continues to go up, it should hit about $6 before I sell it. But anywho.
But that's not $500,000.
But that's not $500,000. But we're making baby steps. You know what I mean? I'm broke.
Well, yeah, everybody is.
That's little money.
Everybody is right now.
Now, if I had $1,500, it'd be more like, $10 grand, $15 grand. We get there.
Eventually.
But anywho, at the beginning of January of 1987, Gary picks up 23-year-old Deborah Dudley and adds her to his collection.
How many is this now? 4 or 5?
3.
No.
You've got Riviera, you've got Sandra, and now you've got Lisa. So she's number 4, actually. Number 4. Now, Deborah proved to be a pain in his rear end most of the time. She was very defiant. She was a troublemaker. But with time, there evolved a chain of command between the girls, with Riviera becoming the lead. She sometimes would be rewarded when the others were not playing nice. She learned how to earn Gary's trust and became less and less prone to the vicious beatings that he would hand out to the other girls. He would even allow Riviera to partake in the beatings, allowing her to beat the girls with a shovel handle. Hygiene was always an issue, although he did bring in a porta-john for them, and he would make sure that they had tampons. Bathing? That was out of the question. The only thing Gary would allow them to use to freshen up with were baby wipes. Later on, he would relent and allow them to take a bath. Food was very sparse. One day, he actually got the idea that the next time the girls needed punished, he'd feed them dog food. Eat it or take a beating. So they ate. By January 18th, he would add yet another woman to his basement, 18-year-old Jacqueline Askins, who would be the youngest of his victims. She was a petite sex worker looking for a job.
How old was she?
18.
Okay.
She was a petite sex worker looking for a job when she was picked up by Heidniks. In the same fashion as he abducted the others, she is eventually led down into the basement, chained, beaten, raped. Regular initiation. He would actually later tell a psychiatrist after he was arrested that later that same evening after he abducted Askins, that he was in a great mood. Like, he had a new girl, and he actually thought Riviera and Lindsay were both pregnant. The psychiatrist would later testify that Heidniks became extremely depressed when he shows up to trial and all their stomachs were flat. Gary said all that for nothing. October 85 to April of 1986, Gary would find a Filipina pen pal by the name of Betty. Now, Gary and Betty had corresponded back and forth for like 2 years. Their relationship would soon blossom, and Betty would eventually make her way to America, and she would marry Gary.
Oh my gosh.
Their marriage seemed to be going really well until one day she comes home from grocery shopping, and she finds Gary in their bed with 3 women who he told were tenants. She begged and begged for a ticket to go home, but Gary denied her request. Heidniks would eventually abuse and enact total control over Betty as well. Eventually, she would escape him, but not before being impregnated by him. She would give birth after leaving Gary to a little boy who she named JJ. Now, in January of 1987, he would be arrested for spousal rape and a few other things that Betty had reported to the cops, like abuse and things. But since she didn't show up at the preliminary hearing, it was all dismissed.
So did they say why she didn't show up? Is it because she couldn't relive it?
She was afraid.
She was afraid.
It's
hard to judge somebody on that, honestly. Yeah. But I would hope that they would be brave enough. Because
to save other people.
Because you have to save other people, but also we've not been in that situation.
Right.
So you don't know what you would do. And
no.
It's just go on. That's all I can say to you when you do these. I'm just like, just go on.
By February of 1987, Sandra Lindsay looked awful. For weeks, she had been dangling by her wrists from a beam in the basement simply because when she was being punished by being shoved into the hole, she had tried to push away the plywood and crawl out. Now, she had begun deteriorating so fast. She had started vomiting, she had a fever, but Heidnik just knew that she was vomiting because she was pregnant and it was morning sickness. So when she refuses to eat, he decides he's going to force feed her small bites of bread. He goes upstairs, and she eventually falls into a slump while hanging by her wrist. And the girls in the basement, they're like, oh my God, like if Gary comes down here and sees her like laying, like he's going to freak out. So they start like yelling at her and telling her to wake up, shouting words of, hey, wake up, stand up, you got to wake up, raise your head up. Trying to get her to up, but she never moves. Heidnik comes down and he finds Lindsay just hanging limp by her wrist. He unhooks her and she drops to the floor. He begins kicking her and yelling at her, saying she's faking. Get up, you're just faking. He kicks her over into the hole. And then he walks over to the freezer that he has in the basement, and he hands out ice cream to all the other girls, except for her, leaves her laying in the hole, and goes back upstairs. A few hours later, he comes back. He finds Lindsay hadn't moved. She hadn't moved at all. He pulls her out of the hole, and he checks her for a pulse. She's dead. He picks her up, throws her over his shoulders, and packs her out of the basement. Later that evening, the girls hear what they believe to be a power saw.
I knew you were going to say that.
A few hours after that, Heidnik's dogs...
I swear to God, if you tell me... Elisa, listen to me. Listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
If you tell me that a few hours later that he makes some kind of stew and gives it to those girls or something, like, I don't know if... I'm so uncomfortable with this. Like, I don't know what you're going to say. I just don't know what you're going to say.
It ain't a stew.
I don't like this. I don't want it to be any food. Like, because you said at the beginning of this, did you say at the beginning?
Were you paying attention? I'm not sure.
I don't know. I just want this to be over. I don't know why I agreed to do this with you.
A few hours later, Heidnik's dogs come downstairs with a large white bone with chunks of red meat still clinging to it. Investigators were unable to find any blood on the electric saw. Now, they do believe that he got rid of the tool that he actually used to cut the girls up with. A few days after her death, Heidnik purchases a food processor.
Oh, my God.
Now, it is believed that he used it to dispose of her remains and combined it with the dog food. What he couldn't grind, he tried to cook down, which caused a big stink, and his neighbors called the cops. The rookie cop shows up. Heidniks explains to him that he's really sorry, officer, but he burnt his roast.
So they will call the police over a smell, but not over a woman screaming help to the top of her lungs. That makes sense.
Oh. Nope. So he tells the cop he burnt his roast. Sorry, I just burnt my dinner.
Really?
That's
and
what
they
you're
believe
smelling.
that. Like, people are calling over a smell. Yep. And he says, oh, I just burnt dinner, and that suffices.
That suffices. Yep.
Just go on.
Nothing ever became of that call. That was it. The cop shows up. Okay, sorry to bother you. Have a good night.
Yeah, have a good night.
Now, one by one, he would cuff the girls to the beam. He would stuff a plastic bag in their mouth as a gag. He'd secure it with duct tape around their heads. He would then take a screwdriver and gouge in their ears. I say this as she's literally taken an ink pen to her ear.
She literally said that. I have an ink pen scratching like the corner of my ear. I couldn't reach it, so I grabbed an ink pen, and it's in my ear.
He would take the screwdriver and gouge in their ears, trying to damage the eardrums. The girls said he used 3 different kinds of screwdrivers, and he would poke and prod and twist until pus came out of their ears. Again, Riviera was exempt from all this. Now, the reasoning behind this specific torture was...
Why was she exempt from all this? Thank God she was, but why?
Because she had started gaining his trust, and he let her start beating the girls. She would tell on them if they were trying to loosen their chains or, whatever. She was being a tattletale.
Well, she's in survival mode.
She is 100%. It's, survival of the fittest at this point. March 18th, 1987, Heidnik decided all the girls except Riviera needed punishment. He decided they needed a new kind of punishment instead of the usual beatings. So he devises a way to administer electric shock. And then he stands by while he has Riviera fill the pit with water. Now, he's drilled several holes in the plywood where he could lower wires down through. So he puts these girls in this pit, and when they're in the hole, they could see just a little, they've got holes they can kind of see and kind of peer out a little bit. And he runs these wires down through the hole, and he starts administering electric shock. Now, the
electric what?
Electric shock.
Yeah, you said shot.
Shock. The wire went straight to Dudley's chain, and she took the heaviest volt. She slumped over, and all the other girls in there began yelling, "She's dead! She's dead! You've killed her! There's no pulse!" And Heidnik opens the pit. He pulls the girls out of the hole and looks at Dudley's body. Aren't you glad it wasn't one of you? Keep in mind, Dudley was the one that kept fighting back and being defiant, so he's just like, whatever.
So did it really kill her?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it killed her. So he goes upstairs and comes back down with a piece of paper and a pen. And he makes Riviera write a confession letter stating that she helped kill Deborah Dudley. Now, he believes now that he has her confession, and there is no way she will ever go to the police unless she implicates herself in this murder. So he's like, I've got her. Like, she's helping me beat these girls. I've got her. Like, he's beginning to have this kind of relationship with her. A few days later, Heidnik has Riviera help him dispose of Dudley's body. They drive out to the woods, and they bury her in a shallow grave. Bury her in a shallow grave. After they disposed of her body, they drove around and found another girl on the corner. Her name was Agnes Adams. Now, keep in mind, he's lost 2 girls. He's got a goal of 10, so he's got to get some new blood in here. Now, Adams was a 24-year-old African-American woman with mental disabilities. Adams gets into the car, and Heidnik does what he always does. He takes her to his home. He chokes her, cuffs her, takes her to the basement, rapes her, throws her in the hole. And he looks at Riviera and he says, that was easy. We'll do that again tomorrow. But Riviera has plans of her own. At this point, she has really earned his trust. After all, he has a signed confession from her stating she'd helped kill Dudley. So she asks if she can go see her family. He agrees to let her go see her family. And then when he picks her up, she says, she'll help him kidnap another woman. As soon as he drops her off, she makes a beeline to her boyfriend's apartment, who happens to be...
He's a police officer, ain't he?
Vincent Nelson.
Who's that? You told me already, but tell me again.
The one we were trying to decide if it was the boyfriend or the pimp with the quote at the beginning of the story.
Yeah, that's not a police officer. Go ahead.
No. We mentioned him back in the beginning. Nelson dialed 911, and he hands the receiver to Riviera. And at first, the cops are like, okay, dude, whatever. This girl tripping.
Are you serious?
This girl is tripping. She is crazy. This story is absolutely 100% not believable. This is stupid. So Riviera tells the cops, she said, seriously, listen, Gary is waiting for me 3 blocks away. He's driving a pewter over white Cadillac. So the cops are like, okay, whatever. Sure enough, the cops pull up, and there's Gary Heidnik. What's this about, officer? Didn't I make my child support? No, A little more serious than that. Are you sure? I thought I paid my child support. No, Mr. Heidnik. It's about kidnapping, rape, and homicide. Officer Savage arrests Gary Heidnik around midnight. By 4:30 a.m., a slew of officers are at Heidnik's house trying to enter with a key that they had gotten from Heidnik. After their failed attempts, they bring in a search warrant, and around 5 a.m., they take a crowbar and they pry the door open. They head straight to the basement, which is where Riviera said that, hey, he's got other girls tied up in the basement.
Right.
This is what's been going on. They find several white plastic bags lying around, a filthy mattress lying on the ground.
Where's the girls?
With
At
two
Elisa?
women,
Okay.
sound asleep, snuggled up for warmth. The men yell, "Police!" and they both bolt up, wearing only socks and the shackles around their ankles. The two girls are in shock. When cops ask if anyone else is around or if there's any other women in the basement, they point to the plywood and they say she's in there. Agnes Adams was curled up in the bottom of the pit. When officers remove her from the hole in the floor, she can barely stand. She's completely nude except for her shackles and her handcuffs. Savage heads upstairs and goes to the kitchen. He looked at the stove and noted an aluminum pot, the inside scorched and covered with yellowish material. In the oven, he saw a metal roasting pan that was charred on the inside and contained a piece of bone that looked like a rib. You remember that roast he was cooking? Mm-hmm. On the counter was a heavy-duty food processor that had obviously been used. He opened the freezer, and there on the very front shelf laid a human forearm.
Oh, my Lord.
By April 23rd, 1987, Heidnik would be charged with murder, kidnapping, rape, aggravated assault, involuntary deviant sexual intercourse, indecent exposure, false imprisonment, unlawful restraint, simple assault, making terroristic threats, recklessly endangering another person, indecent assault, criminal solicitation, possession and abuse of a corpse. During the trial, when asked what possible motive Heidnik could have had in his incredible escapade, every single one of the victims agreed he had his mindset on getting them all pregnant and raising the babies in the basement. Dr. Paul Hoyer was the examiner who was on scene and examined the body parts that were found in Heidnik's freezer. Located in the freezer compartment of the refrigerator were several white-bagged parcels. You would perhaps wrap a piece of meat in to keep in the freezer. They were double wrapped in a white plastic bag. One of these bags had been previously opened. He found 2 human forearms. In all, they counted 2 forearms, an upper arm, 2 knees, and 2 segments of thighs. Each of these pieces had been cut, apparently, with a saw. The skin and muscle soft tissue were still on the bone. It was determined to be a total of 24 pounds of meat that he had packed away in the freezer. During his arraignment, Heidnik claimed that the women were already there in the house when he moved in. At trial, Heidnik was defended by Charles Peruto Jr.
Who could defend? Listen.
I feel the same way, Chica.
Who?
We've talked about this multiple times about like defense lawyers. Like how can you do the cases that we cover? How can you do that?
How can you do that? And don't pay attention to my dog Charlie. He's upstairs barking.
Charlie can hear us down here talking.
Yeah.
Now, during his arraignment, Heidnik claimed, they were already there in the home when he moved in. Charles Peruto, who attempted to prove Heidnik was legally insane. Now, Heidnik's insanity claim was successfully rebutted by the prosecution led by Charles Gallagher III. The fact that he had successfully amassed approximately $550,000 through his brokerage account was used to prove that he was an astute investor, and therefore he wasn't insane. He clearly was smart.
Right.
So testimony, which was given by his Merrill Lynch financial advisor, Robert Kirkpatrick was also used to prove that Heidniks' mental capacity was great. Kirkpatrick called Heidnik a great investor who knew exactly what he was doing. Now, keep in mind, he was very, very smart, and he knew how to try and play his hand. Heidnik's lawyer kept trying to claim insanity, but repeatedly it was proven that he was smart and calculated, and therefore he was not insane at all. Now, June and July of 1988, around 3 o'clock, after about 16 hours of deliberations over 2.5 days, there's finally a verdict. Guilty in the first degree of murdering Deborah Dudley. Guilty in the first degree of murdering Sandra Lindsay. Guilty on 2 counts of first-degree murder, 5 counts of rape, 6 counts of kidnapping, 4 counts of aggravated assault, and 1 count of involuntary deviant sexual intercourse. Miss Betty Bennett, who spoke for the jurors, came forth with their verdict on the sentencing. Death for the murder of Sandra Lindsay. Death for the murder of Deborah Dudley. Gary Heidnik was executed by lethal injection on July 6th of 1999. According to CNN, his last meal reportedly consisted of 2 slices of cheese pizza and black coffee. Heidnik was the last person to be executed in the state of Pennsylvania, and the New York Times reported that he was 55 years old.
How long did he sit on death row for?
About 10 years.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
Why not immediate? Why not do it immediately?
Hand it down right then.
I mean, they know
years,
he did it. There's no doubt. There's no doubt whatsoever. So why wait? Why make the taxpayers pay for 10 years of that piece of shit sitting there and eating and everything and reliving everything he did
and
to
the
those
cost
women, and those women having to live with the fact that their whatever is still alive?
Yep.
Why not take him directly and do it?
When you're sentenced,
when there's no doubt. When there's
days.
no doubt.
No doubt. Yep. Now, I want to mention that a lot of my information came from a book.
Of course it did.
Of course it did. It's called The Cellar of Horror by Ken Englade. I hope I'm pronouncing Englade. Ken Englade.
How do you spell it?
Englade.
E-N-G.
Yep.
L-A-D.
Englade.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Englade.
Englade.
Anyways,
okay.
Ken, he did a great job of, presenting who Gary was as a person and covering the victims.
You did a good job, Elisa.
You. He went into major details.
And you didn't, and I appreciate that because I can't.
I kept it PG-13
because I cannot.
So in total, Gary had imprisoned a total of 6 women and eventually murdered 2. Josefina Riviera, age 25. She was kidnapped November 25th of 1986. Sandra Lindsay, age 24, kidnapped on December 3rd of 1986. She was murdered on February 7th of 1987. Lisa Thomas, age 19, kidnapped December 23rd, 1986. Deborah Dudley, age 23, kidnapped on January 2nd, 1987. She was murdered on March 19th of 1987. Jacqueline Askins, age 18, kidnapped January 18th, 1987. And Agnes Adams, age 24, kidnapped on March 23rd of 1987. Now, a little update. As of January of 2021, according to Oxygen True Crime, all of the survivors received a whopping $30,000 settlement. Thomas and Adams were never really able to recover from the experience, and they've dealt with mental health issues and addiction in the years since, according to this special. Now, Riviera, meanwhile, she told the Philadelphia Inquirer that she had returned to sex work for about a year after the trial, but she did eventually give up both prostitution and drugs for good. She has since then worked a multitude of jobs, such as a waitress, security guard, and a daycare worker. She was able to reunite with her 3 children who had previously been put up for adoption. She lives in Atlantic City, New Jersey, with her husband, Chris Lyle. She loves walking on the beach and collecting sea glass. She is still in counseling, and she still experiences panic attacks. But she told the Inquirer that they're less frequent, and she still has to turn off the TV if she sees any type of chains or handcuffs, though. major trigger for her. Now, Riviera is proud of her strength and how far she's come in battling her trauma. She says, for a long time, I was haunted by Heidniks, by the women who died next to me, but not any longer. I hope I can inspire other victims to feel positive about the future. Now, she told the Mirror that in 2014. Now, Askins still lives in Philadelphia, and she cleans homes. She's close with her 2 sons, who are now adults, and she is on medication to deal with her anxiety and trauma. She told HuffPost that she suffers from intense flashbacks, and she still cannot enter any basement at all. Now, Askins and Riviera did manage to have a meeting that was shown on The Monster Preacher, which was like a little documentary. It was super, super tense and very emotional. She said, Askins tells Riviera, I ain't gonna lie, I did have some hate for you. I blamed you for a lot of stuff that happened down there. But after Riviera explained her position, Askins was able to understand her better. She said, I think the plan you did was the best one. I mean, we're here. So yeah, that's the awful story of, they call him the Monster Preacher.
Well, that was a terrible story.
Yeah, I didn't go into too much about the preaching aspects, but apparently he actually was giving sermons and things, which is just so bizarre.
Listen,
like I said, the book.
And I've told you before on this, I'm like, maybe we should do a story about some of these TV preachers and how awful they are.
Yeah.
Because some of them are awful. Some of the things that they say, just the looks on their face. That one, that Kenneth Copeland, is that his name?
I don't know.
Hold on, let me Google it.
Well, I know, like Clinton watches TV at night, so her TV's on, and I know sometimes on the weekend, like I'll wake up and like the channel changes to like those gospel channels or whatever.
Yeah.
And I remember I woke up and I was like, you know, kind of eyeing the TV, and I was so mad. I woke up fuming mad because this guy's, you know, just preaching and give me money and the Lord will bless you. Listen, that ain't how it works, y'all.
No, it's that Kenneth Copeland. Kenneth Copeland, and like some of the videos of him and stuff, and he's just.
You may have to.
We just like, I have a different opinion on that. And I guess it's not maybe all TV preachers, but I have a really strong opinion on that. So just because this guy said he was a preacher, I mean, even around here, there's some preacher. Just because you're a preacher does not mean you're a good person.
No.
It does not mean you're a godly man. It does not.
Nope.
No, just because you're in the church, just because you're in the church and have a high ranking in the church.
It don't mean squat.
It does not mean
you gotta prove
squat.
it. Live it.
And I don't mean they're not perfect. Nobody's perfect.
Nobody is.
Everybody messes up. But some of the stuff, Elisa, some of the stuff I've heard about just some people around here, honey. Just some people around here.
We could do a deep dive podcast.
Listen, I have always said I'm not going to, but maybe when I retire. Maybe, you know, here's what I hope. Maybe when I get older, right?
How fun would that be?
Maybe when I get older and I don't give 2 craps anymore, and, you know, maybe we just sit down on the couch and you and we just talking about stuff that we always talk about, and I start telling you everything that I know about everybody. And we don't just spill the tea. We throw it all over the place. And we just hit record. And then we just upload it. We just don't mention names. We just don't mention names. Like, I wouldn't do that. But, and just, you know.
That's what we'll call it. We'll call it we'll call it throw the tea.
Yeah. Let's call it run the deer over. Yeah.
Stuff the deer.
Yeah, stuff the deer. Taxidermy.
Stuff the deer.
I wouldn't say anybody's name, but because I wouldn't do that. But just some of the stuff, I mean, it's something. So this guy I don't know any stories like this, but
it's crazy.
But it just led me into that. Me and my friend Holly, we're always like, you know, what we call it. I always said we were going to do a podcast, and it's called what did we say? Being salty with Holly and Sam, and just things that make us mad, just in this community. Yeah. Remember that? What was that website called? I know you know what it was.
I know what you're talking about.
And you could post anonymous, and it was posting stuff.
Is it called Topics?
Yes.
Topix.
Yes, but now you could also put stuff on there that wasn't true.
Right. Anybody could just do it under a fake name.
Oh
and just
yeah, when
write
that was on there,
whatever.
me and Scott weren't married very long at all, and
you were on there.
I was on topic.
Yeah, you were on there.
Yeah, I was on topics.
great.
So I was like, "Oh look, I'm famous.
You made it. You made it.
I finally made it. I'm on topics."
You made it,
and I was actually a little upset that I hadn't made it until then. I was like, "What? What's wrong with me? Why isn't somebody slandering my name?"
Kind of like how ugly girls don't get kidnapped.
It hurts my feelings when you say that.
You beautiful, babe. You beautiful.
It hurts my feelings when you say that.
We would love to hear from you all. Make sure you email us at watchfordearpodcast@gmail.com. Send us a good story. We'd love to read your story. You could do it anonymously. Y'all be sure to hit the follow button and listen on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Like and follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Watch for Deer Podcast. Y'all be safe
And watch for deer.